They say that marriages and long-term relationships are built on pillars of love, trust, and shared values. But that is only because the ideal temperature of the living room is too long to fit on a greeting card. Welcome to the Thermostat Tug of War. This is the silent, high-stakes game of thermal dominance played out in every hallway, in every home, every single night. And this isn't just about physical comfort. This is a battle for the very soul of the household atmosphere. It starts with a subtle shift in the air. One of you is sitting on the couch, minding your own business, maybe watching a movie. Suddenly, you realize your toes have officially lost all sensation. You've turned into a human popsicle. You look across the room, and there they are. Your partner is not just comfortable, they are radiating heat like a solar flare. They're sitting there in a t-shirt and shorts, maybe even with a fan blowing directly on their face. Meanwhile, you're wrapped in 3 layers of wool and considering starting a small campfire in the kitchen sink. You don't say anything at first, because you don't want to start the conversation. You know exactly how that lecture goes. It is a 20-minute speech on the rising cost of energy and how putting on a sweater is free. So, you play the long game. You wait for them to leave the room. You listen for the telltale sound of the bathroom door closing or the kettle beginning to whistle. This is your moment. You creep toward the hallway like a cat burglar in a high-budget spy movie. You reach for that dial with a trembling hand. You give it a tiny, microscopic, subtle nudge, just 2 degrees. Surely, in the grand scheme of the universe, 2 degrees will not be noticed by a human being. You retreat to the couch, heart pounding, waiting for the warmth to save your life. But they always notice. They have a biological sensor tuned specifically to the frequency of the effect system. 10 minutes later, you hear it, the heavy, theatrical sigh from the other side of the house. It's the sigh that says, "Why are we living in a tropical rainforest? Why must we pay to heat the entire neighborhood?" You hear the click-clack of footsteps approaching the hallway. It's the march of the thermal oppressor. The dial is not just moved back. It is aggressively returned to 68 degrees with a click that echoes through your soul. Now, the war has officially begun. This is no longer about the temperature. It's about the principle of the matter. It's about who truly holds the power in this relationship. You start deploying the auxiliary heat tactics. This is a form of visual protest. You don't just put on a hoodie. You put the hood up and pull the drawstrings tight. You wrap yourself in a heated blanket that's plugged directly into the wall. You want them to feel the guilt. You want them to look at you and see a victim of atmospheric cruelty. You make a cup of tea, not because you're thirsty, but because you need something hot to hold against your freezing cheeks. Meanwhile, your partner is escalating. They start talking about air circulation. They open a window in the bedroom just an inch because it is getting a bit stuffy in the house. The outside air is 30 degrees, but to them, that's just a refreshing breeze. They start quoting the Farmer's Almanac and energy efficiency charts they found on the internet. They mention that 68 is the scientifically proven temperature for deep sleep. They act as if science itself has taken a personal side in your domestic dispute. This leads us to the fake adjustment phase. This is a true masterclass in mild toxicity. You realize you can't win by force, so you win by deception. You stand by the thermostat and linger there just long enough to look suspicious. You make a loud, clicking noise with your mouth that sounds exactly like a dial turning. You do not actually move the needle. You just want them to think you have conceded. You want them to experience the placebo effect. Remarkably, it sometimes works. They'll walk by 5 minutes later and say, "See? Isn't it much more comfortable now that we turned it down?" You just nod silently, huddled under your 4 blankets, knowing the temperature has not changed by a single decimal point. And then there are the thermostat protectors. You've seen them in public libraries or dive bars. When one partner suggests buying a clear plastic lockbox for the home, the relationship has entered the Cold War phase. It is an admission that we can no longer trust each other with the climate of our own home. Eventually, As the night wears on, you reach the thermal treaty. This is a fragile, bitter peace agreement. You agree on 70 degrees. Neither of you is happy. You're still a little cold, dreaming of a summer that feels 1,000 years away. They're still a little warm, staring resentfully at the heating vents as if they're breathing fire. The silence between you is colder than the air in the bedroom. You go to sleep in separate thermal zones. You are under 3 duvets and a cat. They are using one foot to hang out from under a single sheet. You close your eyes, knowing this peace is temporary. The sun will come up, and the battle for those 2 degrees will begin all over again. Because in the thermostat tug of war, there are no winners. There are only people who are either slightly too sweaty or slightly too blue. See you at the hallway at midnight for the rematch. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thermostat war stories in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.